terms of building, but it's going to be a big and hard task that we've got in front of us. But what it does do, it gives us a tremendous opportunity as a region. In our status as a low-carbon economic region, we've already got a head start on other regions in the UK. We've got a lot of businesses which do work around mitigation of carbon and greenhouse gases, etc., and a lot of activity which can actually be very beneficial there. So I see that as a tremendous opportunity for us as a region, and a tremendous opportunity for business. And I'm always looking out for opportunities where we can start to develop those. And certainly in my private sector world, I'm always looking out for companies which can actually do some good stuff there. But we really have got a tremendous opportunity with regard to developing new businesses and new opportunities against carbon change. So that's kind of the context for today. Our first first of all, what I'd say is the most important thing is to enjoy today. We've got some excellent speakers coming up. We've got some great people to network with and find out what's going on. One of the things I'd like to do is just get some of the funding people who are in the audience today, maybe just to stand up so you know who they are in terms of the networking and who you should go and collar during the networking sessions. They'll not thank me for this at all. We've got David Dawson. Are you here, David? Yeah, David's there. We've got Jim Clipson from the Technology Strategy Board. Jim, I saw you earlier. Yeah. And Stephen Alexander. Thanks, Stephen. So those guys are here, so talk to them about some of the funding activities. From the RDA, we've got Sheldon in the front row here, so if you want to grab him. Are there other people from the RDA in the audience? So, right now? Yeah, okay, so there's a few more from the RDA, so grab those as well. And Lloyd Brinner from Business Link. Lloyd, thank you very much. So we've got a good bunch of people you can network with and find out who to get the money from. That's I've really put the monkey on their backs now, so good luck with that. Okay, we've got a slight change to the programme. I think in your programmes you're seeing Jazz Singh and Craig White next, and we've actually changed the order round. So Craig is coming up first. They're going to talk about some case studies with regard to using grants from both the TSB and the grant for R&D. Craig is going to stand up first and talk about his activity there. Now, Craig comes from Modsell. And as you'll see from the programme, it's straw bale cladding construction systems, which is quite interesting. One of my other activities is I've got a small farm in Cornwall, so I'm going to be quite interested in this because it'll be quite useful there. Craig hasn't seen enough of me yet, but he's just joined the Technology Strategy Board's group on low impact buildings. We've got a steering group which looked after that, and I chair that. Now, low impact buildings is not about buildings which don't make too much of a dent when you crash them. It's about it's about reducing the carbon footprint of buildings in the build stock that we have. Now, they are responsible for about a third of the carbon emissions that we have in the UK. There's a big push around new build, but it's also the fact that I think it's something like 50 or 60% of the building stock that's going to be here by 2050 is already built. So it's also looking at activity that we can do around refurbishing those buildings, and we're looking at that as well. So welcome to that, Craig. I know you're coming to the first meeting later in the month or next month, I can't remember when, but that'll be very good. But Craig, you're going to talk to us about straw bale building, so here we go.
Thank you, Nick. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Like I'm sure many people here, I often wear a badge with different titles on. I don't just do straw bale building. I'm also Director of White Design and the Architectural Practice based here in Bristol. For the last 11 years we've been trying to work out how you might build what we would have called low energy, low environmental impact buildings. Today that's sustainability and low carbon, same language, different branding. And the being dragged into all sorts of different types of business, and the low carbon economy is going to drag all of us into completely different directions. So it's not just about straw, it's about engaging a method of building that actually uses photosynthesis, one of the cleverest bio-evolved technologies on the planet, and still people don't know quite how it works. And just so, for example, the slide you're looking at is grass, one of the most ubiquitous species of plants on the planet, and then the slide below is a NASA shot of the white stuff is CO2 emissions, the orange stuff is biomass emissions. So all of which release carbon dioxide, one using fossil fuels, one using biomass. The why. You don't get to go to a presentation on sustainability without seeing a planet. I've upgraded mine, it spins, which makes it slightly easier for you to watch because you could start groaning at this point. But we have eco-footprinting on the planet, the means by which we measure our impact on the planet, our land take. And basically, if we take all of the available land from which we can draw our health and well-being and wealth activity, every man, woman and child on the planet gets 1.9 hectares. Every child that is born reduces that share, so population growth challenges that. 1.9 hectares sounds very nice. That's for in old money, that's quite a big plot. I can't remember what it is in old money, but Linford Christie does one side in 10 seconds and Usain Bolt does the other one in about 18 seconds. So a big plot of land on top of which you could build an eco-home, maybe employ us to help you do that. Maybe you grow some food, have some chickens. You could go good life on 1.9 hectares, absolutely no doubt about that. Maybe have a pond with some fish. It's all kind of rather nice. But you also have to have a mineral extraction facility, an oil well, a coal mine, an iPod factory, a BMW X5 fabrication facility. So everything very quickly gets chewed up. The good thing is that that's and if you and I allowed the rest of the world to develop to the same standard you and I enjoy, we'd need 3 planets worth of resource or 6 hectares. So this is now kind of a new currency which is going around, so how do we get down to a 1 planet resource? This is for Europe. That's the standard for Europe. If you look at the Americans, and I hope there are no Americans in the audience, so I apologise for this, they've just gone from 5 to 6 planets worth of resource. So the average individual in America has to reduce their consumption by 80% across all areas of consumption. So that's the environmental big picture. The other environmental big picture is the carbon cycle. We're not meant to read any of that, but there is a little chimney. That's our activity. And up until recently in America, they would have said the carbon cycle is so big, it's not a problem that we're adding 2 to 3% to it, because it's enormous. Forest fires are really small carbon we're doing. But in precautionary principles and in terms of balance, 3% added onto a system changes that system. And the precautionary principle would say, okay, if it's going to tip, which way are we tipping? And climate change is that. So the question we pose ourselves is how, it's like Irish directions. If you want to get to zero carbon, don't start here. I think that's the principle. You want to be starting from somewhere over here and coming from a completely different direction. There isn't in the construction industry at the moment a model that's going to get us anywhere near all the regulatory targets. All this, there's a lot of over-promising and huge undelivery at the moment. Some of you might been seeing eco-labels appearing on buildings. Eco-labels are based on a computer model that don't take account of people that then go and screw up everything you've planned. So you'll get an A-rated building. I can guarantee that they will be C or D rated actually in use. So we're going to miss by country miles our target. And of course 90% reduction this morning if you fly. So stop flying. So how do you design a system that works within the carbon cycle, the natural carbon cycle, without drawing energy from fossilized fuel? And nature's done the trick for us. This is the planet, big fusion activity going off 93 miles away. I'm more comfortable with that than I am with Hinckley. But there we go. There's the Earth. That's a solar flare. And this drives energy towards the planet, comes in as shortwave radiation, hits the ground, heats it up, and we get long-wave radiation, and that sustains life on the planet. Climate change changes the amount of CO2. It's driven by CO2 going into our atmosphere, our duvet of atmosphere, and basically CO2 ups the top value of our atmosphere, driving temperature rise and giving us the wonderful weather we're now experiencing for the last 3 summers in the UK.